Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of the E-Commerce Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Curry, CEO of OMG Commerce, and today I have an e-commerce veteran. He's a legend in the space. He's a podcaster. He's an author. He's a store owner. He runs his own events. If you don't know him, you are going to love getting to know him on this podcast. But I've got Steve Chou joining me. Steve is the host of the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast, a top 25 podcast in the marketing space. He's also the author of a brand new book called The Family First Entrepreneur, which we'll talk about a little bit on the show. He's the co-founder of Seller Summit, one of my favorite events to attend and speak at. I think I've spoken there 3 or 4 times coming up at the time of this recording, which is great. And then also co-founder of Bumblebee Linens. And so we're going to be talking lifecycle marketing, AI, and probably other fun stuff because he's a podcaster. He's comfortable with all this. But with that intro, Steve Chou, my man, how you doing? Welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on.
Dude, what up, Brett? Always happy to talk to you, and very thankful that you were able to speak at Seller Summit. I want to say for the past 5 years, I think
that's right. I think it's been 5 years. Seller Summit has become one of my favorite events to attend and speak at. I think I've spoken there for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's also been really fun to watch the attendees grow. Now, you keep it small and intimate on purpose, but like the size of the sellers, like you're seeing their businesses grow over the last several years, which has been fun to watch. And so I don't know what your perspective is on that as the event organizer.
It's been great. Actually, the average revenue per attendee is in like the mid 7 figures now. And it wasn't like that. In the very beginning, 7 years ago, everyone was making like 6 figures. And it's been amazing to see them grow over the years. And your talks always get high marks, which is why I always invite you back.
Thanks, dude. Thanks. Good to hang out. I always just enjoy like the speaker networking and the speaker mastermind you do, but always a good time. Great audience and super fun event. So talk to us about I want to dive into a few things. We're going to talk about life cycle marketing, and you've got a really unique perspective because you run a podcast, you run an event, you talk to merchants all the time, but you are a merchant, you run a store, and so we're going to talk about lifecycle marketing. I love your perspective there. Also going to get into AI just a little bit because I think you're using it in a very unique way, very powerful way, so we're going to dive into that. But talk to us about like what was the process like to write this book? So Family First Entrepreneur, what's the motivation behind that, and what was that process like? Just curious.
Yeah, I'll just tell you, the motivation was I've been blogging for like 10, 11 years now, over a decade. My mom has never read a single thing, but as soon as I told her that I was doing a traditionally published book, she got all excited and wanted to read it right away. That made me very happy.
So you're doing this so that hopefully your mom puts like something on the fridge, like look at what Steve did. He wrote a book. He finally did something interesting.
There's a lot of childhood trauma there. Let's not get into that. But the other reason was it's always been on my bucket list, and I just want to walk my kids to the bookstore. Hopefully this bookstore that's the only bookstore that's left in my area stays in business in time for the book to be released, so I can actually walk them through there. So,
dude, that would be amazing. Yeah, like, hey, Dad wrote that book. Also, for you to do a book signing at that bookstore, that would be super cool as well. I'm not sure if they'll,
I'm going to do a tour. I'm going to do a tour.
Are you really?
I am. Yeah, afterwards. Yeah, just like a relaxing tour where I'm just going to go around and just do a little book signing here and there. I don't know if I'm going to make it out to your neck of the woods, Brett. You're
no Springfield, Missouri. Come on, actually, for a mid-sized market, we are very entrepreneurial in nature and entrepreneur friendly. Actually, I saw it was Inc. or Forbes. Somebody several years ago ranked us as like one of the top mid-sized markets for entrepreneurs, which is kind of cool.
Well, but maybe I'll have it at OMG. Who knows?
What's that?
You led me to your offices. Maybe I'll have one there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Let's do a book signing at OMG headquarters. I love it. So more about the book later, but let's do this. So you're the co-founder, and you also said you called yourself the grunt at Bumblebee Linens. So explain what you guys sell, what you guys do, and then we're going to get into lifecycle marketing in just a second.
Yeah, so we mainly sell handkerchiefs and linens for special occasions. And I would say our primary customer base are people who are getting married, people who have baptisms, and unfortunately we also do a lot of funerals. But we personalize these hankies, so we actually have these industrial sewing machines in our warehouse, and we do a lot of sewing, which means generally there's not a lot of repeat business, but we're talking about lifecycle marketing, which implies that you sell to your customers a lot. We do have a really strong set of repeat customers, and believe it or not, I kind of discovered this by accident, but there are a lot of people who collect handkerchiefs also, which is
Really?
something we discovered over the years. Yeah.
They collect handkerchiefs like based on special events or something. Like they're buying a handkerchief to commemorate something, or they want to buy
Just
them. They're like
different
baseball cards.
styles. It's kind of like, those people who have like 100 pairs of shoes
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
closet. These people have like thousands of handkerchiefs. It's
So
crazy.
you got the sneakerheads, you got the shoe dogs out there, you got the
We got the hanky
handkerchief,
heads.
the hanky heads, hanky heads. That is hilarious. So yeah, it's a good point. So I mean, obviously people do get married more than once on occasion, certainly, and you have those other events. But yeah, this is not like I'm not going to join the Hanky of the Month club unless you're in that crowd, or I'm not going to buy one a year or something. So yeah, I was a little surprised when you said, "Hey, one of the things I'm passionate about is life cycle marketing. Let's talk about it." So how do you think about life cycle marketing, knowing that the vast majority of your clients are only going to buy once?
Yeah. So just throwing some numbers out there. So only 12% of our customers are repeat, but it actually represents over 36% of our revenue. And I kind of stumbled upon this one day by just kind of looking through
Does that just mean that the AOVs are really high for your repeat customers?
They
or
are. I'm going to tell you why. I'm getting into that. Yeah.
Good. Sorry, jumping ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just looking through the stats, and I just noticed some customers in there that were purchasing a lot of linens. Like if some person's like purchasing 40 dozen napkins or like 100 hankies, it's kind of unusual, right? So one day, just on a whim, I called the person up and I was like, "Hey, we noticed you ordered a large quantity and you've ordered more than once. Can I ask what you do?" And then they told me, "Hey, yeah, we're an event planner. We do this all the time." And so I was like, "Okay, great. Here's a custom coupon code and here's a dedicated rep. So when you need anything for the event, we'll make sure it gets there. We'll put a person on it." And so now what we do is we go through our customer list almost every single month, find those outliers, and we just call them up. Like on the phone. People are always surprised.
You literally call them on the phone.
On the phone. Yes. Not
Are they
email.
like shocked? They're like, "Wait a minute, the e-commerce store that I just bought from is calling me on the phone right now?"
Exactly. But they're good. I mean, they bought from you. They know who you are, right? So they're more receptive. And we're always really polite. We lead in with, coupon, dedicated rep, extra care of the order. And it works really well. And so these people who we get that way end up being customers for life, and they buy a lot and they buy often.
Yeah, I love that. I think I know we're mutual friends with Drew Sanaki, nerd marketing, but also involved in a number of companies. Just kind of a legend in the e-commerce space. But he talks about identifying your whales, right? Identifying, looking at things like recency, frequency, monetary value. So how soon did someone purchase? How often did they purchase? And then the monetary value of what they purchase. And so you identified those people, and now you're totally giving them the white glove treatment. Phone call, thank you, coupon code, dedicated rep. And yeah, after you do that, customer for life, right? Like, why are they going to go anywhere else? Why would they choose Amazon or something for their next linens? They want to buy from you. So.
Yeah. The other thing we also noticed, and I recommend that everyone do this, is we looked through all of our traffic sources and we found out which traffic sources had the highest revenue per visitor. And because, before I did this analysis, I was just kind of looking at everything in aggregate. If everything's good, usually, you don't look at it. But I started looking at it and I noticed that the people I was getting from Facebook were our lowest revenue per visitor of all the traffic sources.
Interesting.
The people who were coming in organic through Google were our highest value people, which tends to be true, I would say, for most stores. But that's what caused me to actually focus more on the organic SEO side.
Interesting. And as a Google paid guy, and I also have a background in SEO, I love SEO too, but how did Google, so Google organic is the highest. Was it still comparable to like Google paid search as an example, or was it noticeably different?
No, paid search is up there too. I mean, they're one and the same, right? I mean,
it's similar. You're actively searching at that high buyer intent, so that's different than someone that you're, like demand gen type advertising with Facebook.
Maybe you could comment on this, Brett, but I moved over to Performance Max. And Performance Max is a black box. It's actually kind of hard to tell where everything's coming from once I did that.
Yeah. So a couple things. I can send this to you after we're done recording. There's a script that my buddy Mike Rhodes, He runs Web Savvy and Agency Savvy. He's based in Australia. Brilliant Google marketer. He and his team built this script, and we added a little bit to it. But basically, you run the script, it'll pull all the data outside, or pull all the data out of Performance Max, and show you where the spend is going. So it gives you quite a bit of insights to know what you might need to adjust or what you might not need to adjust. And we have heard, because everyone is telling Google the same thing, like we want more visibility, we want more data inside of Performance Max, that some data is going to be coming into the account. So we'll see. We have seen, though, kind of any way we slice it, Performance Max is doing pretty well for most of our clients. We spend now between $4 or $5 million on just Performance Max here in the last year or so, and a little better than Smart Shopping at new customer acquisition. We can scale it a little bit better, but there are definitely some kind of best practices to follow in terms of the way, the assets you give it and the way you structure your asset groups and the way you bid. I'll be talking about that at Seller Summit, which would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about Performance Max is that you can actually maintain it it's relatively low maintenance.
Yeah, totally. Like, if you want to be hands off of Performance Max and you've got all the right assets there, you can totally be hands off. And this is also like why I kind of hated it in the beginning, because I thought it would only be hands off. You can be hands off if you want, but if you want to tinker and you want to add new things, you want to try segmentations, you could do that too. And we've been able to kind of push the envelope with a couple of clients by creating multiple campaigns, or by the way we structure the asset group. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, if you just got it kind of simple and it's dialed in, it'll just keep working, which is great. Did you see? And we're getting a little bit deep into
off topic. Yeah.
Curious. Did your performance improve from Smart Shopping to Performance Max, or is it about the same as it was with Smart Shopping?
So I was actually never using Smart Shopping. I was only on Shopping.
Okay.
And just regular. And I found that unfortunately Performance Max kind of eats into
It does.
the other campaigns. So I just like the hands-off nature of it, and overall it gives me greater reach. The ROAS isn't as good, but it gives me higher reach, and I make more money overall. So that's why I like it.
Yeah, and the issue with just standard Google Shopping is your placements are limited to just the search results, right? But you'll notice if you pay attention, if you're shopping for something and then you go to YouTube or you go to a site that's part of the Google Display Network, which is like 90% of the internet, you'll start to see product listing ads or Google Shopping ads for related products, not even the products you clicked on. But if you've been searching for cookware or a vacuum or whatever, like you'll start to see ads for those things in other places, and that's largely driven by Performance Max, which is interesting.
I see linens everywhere I go now, actually.
That is awesome. Cool. So you identified, you identify your best customers, you call them, you give them an offer, you identify your top traffic sources. What else do you do that's unique related to lifecycle marketing?
Yeah, so we just have different buckets for customers, and I don't know if this is unique. I'm sure other people are doing it, but we have like a portion of our list that has never bought before. So for those people, we'll discount a little bit more heavily just to get them to make that first purchase, just to get them to open up their wallet. We also have a bucket of customers that have purchased once but didn't purchase again. And I just can tell from our data that if we can get someone to buy again, like just twice, anything, chances are they're going to be a longer term customer, right? So we do whatever we can for them to get that second purchase. So we have these flows automatically set up in Klaviyo so that, I'll give you an example. We sell 3 different types of napkins in our store, cocktail, lunch, and dinner napkins, and we usually sell them in matching sets. So if someone buys like a cocktail napkin but does not buy a dinner napkin or a lunch napkin, we automatically send an email that tells them, hey, did you know that we sell matching lunch napkins and dinner napkins? And so we're kind of automatically getting them to buy again, cross-selling. And it's all fully automated in the autoresponder sequence. So for those people who bought once and haven't bought again, we just cross-sell them other products that are just kind of automatically related based on what they bought.
What's kind of the take rate on that typically? Do you know off the top of your head? Like if you send that, hey, you bought the cocktail napkins but not lunch or dinner, and we sell matching, are you getting a pretty good take rate on that?
The take rate is probably in the low double digits, high single digits. Yeah. But we actually cross-sell a bunch of, so another example also is, hey, did you know that we sell personalized cocktail napkins? The take rate for that is higher. So if they want their initials on it and whatnot, that tends to work better. So we'll lead with that.
So that's more of an upsell, right? So you got cross-sell, you bought cocktail napkins, now here's the lunch and dinner that are matching, but there may have been a reason why they only bought cocktails. So now you're saying, hey, you've already got those, but now get customized cocktail napkins.
Correct.
Got it. And then there's a higher take rate for that.
Correct.
Totally makes sense. Interesting. What are some of the mistakes? Because again, I know you got a unique perspective. You talk to people at Seller Summit and you run a podcast. What are some other mistakes, either tactically or with the approach or mindset? What are mistakes you see people make when it comes to lifecycle marketing?
I would say the biggest mistake I see people make is spending all their money on customer acquisition and just kind of neglecting the repeat business side. And I can get it. I get it. It's much sexier to get a new customer, right? You're running ads and you get these new customers, but then our business wouldn't be the same if we didn't have our repeat customer base, right?
Totally.
Because it's a solid foundation to build upon. And in fact, that's the way we grow. We constantly build upon these repeat customers.
Yeah, 36% of your revenue. That's huge. Yeah.
And not only that, getting new customers is just getting more and more expensive every single year. So you almost have to focus on your existing customers in order to survive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. And I heard this from Jay Abraham first, but there's really only 3 ways to grow a business, right? It's more new customers, so customer acquisition. It's getting people to buy more each time they purchase, so increasing your AOV. And then it's getting them to buy more often, right? Increasing the LTV. So new customers, AOV, LTV, that's it. Like millions of tactics you can kind of layer in there, but that's it. And it's often easier, more profitable to either increase your AOV or increase the LTV over time. And so,
and can we just talk about pricing a little bit too? Like
we would love to. Yes, would love your perspective on pricing. Absolutely.
We pretty much don't do big discounts anymore. And it was only after I did the math did I just kind of discover how detrimental a discount is. So, like during Black Friday, a lot of people do heavy discounts. Let's just take some numbers here. Let's say you have a product that sells for $100 and your margins are 50%, which means it costs you $50.
Yep.
All right. Let's say you typically sell 100 units a day of that item, right? So you're making $5,000 a day. Let's say during Black Friday, you decide to do a 25% sale, right?
I like it.
Not a big deal. A lot of people do that, right? So all of a sudden...
It's just 20%. It's just 20%, Steve. But it's not.
25%. That's it. So the new math is you're selling it for $75. Your cost of goods is still $50. And so you're only making $25 per sale. And all of a sudden you need to sell 200 units a day just to break even.
Right.
So
you cut your margin in half. Another way to say it is you got to double your sales to make the same amount of money. Yeah.
Yes. Most people don't realize it. Most people only think that they need to make up 25% more sales to make up for that 25% coupon.
Right.
And I'm being generous here, right? 50% margins is,
those are healthy. Yeah. A lot of people would love to have 50% margins. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, what's cool is the opposite is true, like when you raise prices, right? Let's say a store's net margin is 10%. I think I looked that statistic up at one point. Like the average net margin after everything for an e-commerce store is 10%. All right. Let's use that same example. So $100, you're making $10, right? Per sale. Let's say you decide to raise your prices just 1%, right? Just $1. You can probably raise your prices 1% and not see that effect on your sales. So all of a sudden now you're making $11 in profit. That's 10% more.
10% increase in profits. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also one of those things where, and people are kind of used to price increases now because of inflation and just everybody knows the cost of goods are going up and whatnot. In that scenario, you raise your prices 10%, which may not be that big of a deal, right? So you go from 50 to 55 or something like that. That could double your profits, right? Because you're at a 10% margin, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, love that. Cool. So eye-opening, like we got to think more than just new customer acquisition. We got to think about lifecycle marketing and putting people into different buckets, focusing on those whales or those VIPs or those most profitable customers and really treating them differently. And then love this pricing discussion too. Just because I want to make sure we give it adequate time. I want to talk about AI because, I think you're doing some pretty cool stuff there. You're getting some tangible, measurable results from AI. But first of all, what's your general take on AI? Should we be scared? Is AI coming for our jobs? Are you excited about AI, nervous about AI, a little bit of both? What's your general take?
I think on the content side, I'm a little worried because a lot of my business is based on SEO. I don't know if you've tried the new Bing search. Have you?
Not much. I've tried more Chat GPT. Some team members have tried Bing, and I'm hearing mostly good things about it. I do hear that Google's got barred, right? But I heard there's a new thing coming called Project Magi, I think.
Yep.
That'll be interesting. So yeah, we'll see how that all shakes out. But yeah, continue.
I was going to say, like, it's just if you use the new Bing, it's just kind of a glimpse into how things are going to look like in the future. So let's say you type in, what are the best hankies? Well, in Bing search, which is based on ChatGPT 4, I believe, only the top 4 results come up. And it's not like search. It says, hey, the top hankies are from this place, this place, this place, and this place. Then there's citations, which basically means you really need to be in that top 4 just to get any clicks going forward. And if you run an affiliate site or a content site, you're just going to get the answer and no one's going to click on the citations, right?
Yeah, super interesting. So now, where it's always been super important to be page 1, it's always been important to be at the top of page 1. Now you got to be like top 4, you're toast, basically.
Yeah. So I think content sites are in trouble. I think e-commerce is okay, but you're going to have to really take those top coveted spots in order to get traffic that way.
Bid to be in those top spots, treat customers in a way that you're going to get good reviews, offer a great product so that's going to kind of fuel everything else. Cool. So talk about kind of how are you guys using AI to grow your business?
Yeah, what's cool about AI, and a lot of people are using it for content. A lot of people are using it for like bullet points for Amazon. Some of the cool ways that we've been using it for is just even for product ideas. So let's say, so you're a dad of a ton of children, right?
8 kids, man. I got the Ocho, 8 children.
I didn't think I'd ever meet someone with more kids than Tony, but yeah.
You got to be by 1, right? She's got 7. Yeah, we instantly connected. Like, us weirdos with lots of kids, we're different, cut from a different cloth.
You can actually ask ChatGPT to give you products someone with a father of 8 kids would be interested in. Maybe that's a little broad, actually. But you can actually get really good product ideas based on just demographic information that you give it.
Interesting. So give me product ideas for this type of person, this avatar.
Yeah. The same works for cross-sells also. So like, hey, give me stuff that people would buy hankies with, or napkins or linens or whatever. And sometimes it comes up with some obscure products that you actually might want to look into carry.
Interesting. So have you used AI to fuel your next product idea, or is it more like it gives you some ideas and that spurs other thoughts, or have you taken like an idea directly from ChatGPT and executed on it?
I mean, that's kind of how we stumbled upon some of our next products, because we haven't been brainstorming new product lines in a while. Like we've been getting variations of the same, because you can get a whole bunch of variations of hankies and napkins, but we haven't really thought too much about, completely different product lines. And this is something that we just recently did, and we used ChatGPT for that.
Interesting. Have you launched those product lines?
We have not yet. We have not yet. So the original plan was actually go to China, because we used to go to the Canton Fair every other year, but then COVID hit, and then we kind of made the last minute decision not to go this year just in case. So we'll probably end up going next year. But we do have some sourcing agents that are looking for these products for us right now.
Very interesting. Yeah. Well, keep me posted on that. Super interested in that as well. So of course, the content idea of writing bullet points, descriptions, things like that. We're still kind of very much in this exploration stage as an agency. How do we use AI? One interesting thing that we're running into is some of our larger clients are telling all their agencies, hey, you cannot do anything related to our brand on ChatGPT. And the reason they're giving us is because once you enter that information into ChatGPT, then it becomes now OpenAI can use that in other ways, right? So there's some clients that are resistant to that, which is totally fine. One way we're using it though, like just for the podcast as an example, so I'll write show notes and a title for a show. My assistant will then kind of plug that into ChatGPT and just ask for variations. And And it's probably more than half the time we'll either use a suggestion directly from ChatGPT, or we'll take that and tweak it and then use that. And so we're using it that way. We're getting it to fuel copy ideas for some of things we're working on. But we're mostly just like playing around with it at this point. I've got some lofty ideas for AI related to like data analysis and stuff, but we're still playing around with it. But you guys are using it for content even outside of Amazon, correct?
We've actually I have a couple of posts that rank on the front page that was, I would say, 80% AI.
Wow.
Google made a statement in their stance on that in 2022 was, hey, no way, don't use it. You're going to get penalized.
No AI generated content. It will not work well for you. We don't want it on the internet, basically.
Yeah, but in 2023, they softened their stance. They were like, it's okay as long as it's not used in a spammy way. Like they don't want like sites that are just purely AI. So the way we're using it is we're using it to avoid the blank page syndrome, generating outlines, and then within the outlines, maybe generating content for each bullet point, and then having a human go through it, fact check it, and then kind of tailor it more for SEO. What's unfortunate about ranking on SEO, and I mentioned before we started recording that we actually increased our SEO rankings 4x in the last 6 months.
Crazy, 4x in the last 6 months, and you identified that's your most profitable source of traffic.
Correct. And I'll just tell you this: just the way to rank in Google today, and maybe you used to do this, but I've been doing it for like the last decade. It's taken all the fun out of writing. Right? Because Google just wants the answer in a succinct way. And so now that's the way we write all of our blog posts.
Right. Yeah, it's not like creative prose, whimsical prose, things like that. Not so helpful, right? And
it's actually hurtful.
Yeah, because you're clouding the real answer or the substance that Google wants to find. Because if you look at, what has Google's goal been from the beginning? It's to organize the world's information and make it easily accessible and useful to everybody. And part of what they're doing is just trying to surface answers, right? And so, the quicker you can answer a question that users are asking for, the better. And that's really what Google's all about, right? Answering questions. So you need to help them by answering questions very clearly and succinctly. So.
If we're on the topic of AI, like one thing we're using it for also is to write some of our email marketing autoresponder campaigns. For Bumblebee Linens, I hate writing that stuff just because it's just not my thing. So usually I put my wife in charge and she hates writing. But we've actually trained the AI to sound like us, and you can actually have it write personal emails and just kind of tweak it a little bit as it goes to sound.
So how do you do that? Do you have to feed it some of your other content? Like here's 10 of my emails, write another one that sounds like me?
So I can't remember the terminology now right off the top of my head, but you feed in something that you've already written and you have it generate a voice paragraph. I think that's the term for it. And then you say, hey, using this voice paragraph, write an email about this, and then it pumps something out.
Interesting. So really you're maybe only giving it one piece to then base that voice paragraph off of. Very interesting.
You can actually, if you have access to the API, you can actually, so this is one thing I'm working on the side. Once this whole book launch is over with, I have a class that I've been running for over a decade. I'm going to transcribe all the videos and feed it in and create SteveBot so that whenever someone has a question, they can ask this bot first, and it's all my stuff, and it should answer them with my answers as like a first line of defense.
With your tone, with your voice, with your answers you've already given.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now to do that, to build SteveBot, do you use a paid version of ChatGPT, I would assume, or like you have to use an upgraded version or something?
You should get the paid version and just have access to the API. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know if you use just the open free version or whatever, you're limited on the amount of content you can have it crawl or look at or assess or whatnot.
Plus, you want to be using ChatGPT 4, which is only available to paid customers. It's actually significantly better for content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. And didn't they break a record on subscriptions, like going from 0 to millions of subscribers in record time for ChatGPT 4?
Yeah, it's been nuts. Let me just tell you this. Like ChatGPT 4 is probably comparable to like an average US writer, whereas ChatGPT 3.5 was more along the lines of like an international writer.
Got it.
that you would hire. So, I mean, it's sad to say this, but I'm like downsizing my writers because ChatGPT 4 is that good. I'm keeping my editor, who's just going to massage it. But I mean, what's scary about AI is I think a lot of jobs are going to be lost.
Yeah, I mean, one thing on the more optimistic side of AI, I hear people saying things like, hey, it's not going to replace anything, it's going to augment things. And I think to a certain degree that's true, right? Where you'll always need people with good business ideas, you'll always need a creator. I've seen, like you have Midjourney that will create photos based on prompts and stuff. We always kind of need someone who's creative in giving those prompts. But I think there is an element where it's like, well, yeah, but we don't need as many people, right? So maybe it's not replacing all the writers, but it's replacing some. Or, what I've heard, and I'm not a coder. I know you've got an engineering background, Steve, so you'd have a unique perspective here. But some people thinking, hey, like, does this do away with really large development teams? Like, do you just need one developer or two maybe, and then you use AI to generate everything else, and now you've got these smart developers that are just kind of checking and pulling things together, and now it's 10xing, 100xing their output. So yeah, I think there is a scenario where you don't need as many people, which is encouraging from like a profit standpoint, but kind of scary from another standpoint as well.
I mean, I keep in touch with my buddies in the hardware space, and they're using it now to design hardware.
Wow.
Right? So it's going to replace white-collar jobs.
Isn't that interesting? That's kind of like, and I heard someone say this not too long ago, that, the fear was, hey, machines are just going to take away all the manual labor jobs, right? And that's true for like some things like, checkout, right? So someone working at point of sale at a retail store, yeah, you have the automated checkout and stuff. But it's actually coming for white-collar jobs in a much more aggressive fashion than blue-collar jobs, which is super interesting.
So start your own business, folks. If you're...
Right. Start listening to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast. Start an e-commerce store, not selling linens, but something else, and then use AI to write your content. So talk about that. So 4x your SEO rankings in the last 6 months. Is that strictly from just increasing the amount of content you're creating? What do you attribute that to?
It actually was not. I would say a large portion of it was rewriting existing content in such a way that Google wants the answer. This is what I was alluding to earlier when it sucked all the life out. So I literally pulled out all the anecdotes, all the stories, went for the featured snippet, which means you try to answer a question in like a sentence and try to hit that featured snippet spot. Did a bunch of link building, which still works. I'll just talk about some of the
totally works. And that's something we did from the very beginning all the way up to the end. We shut down our SEO practice just because it wasn't a passion anymore and nobody on our team wanted to do it. But link building was always like the most effective. You get good backlinks, and it's still true today, which is pretty crazy.
It's still true, but it's a pain in the butt. And let me just talk about some creative ways that we built some links. This is a simple thing that any one of you guys out there listening can do, is to issue special discounts for military, teachers, and students, and like nurses and first responders. So we got links from like military.com. All you got to do is say, hey, I got a discount for the military. And then you reach out to all the military sites and they'll link to you and post it. Another way we did it was I now have a Bumblebee Linens scholarship and a My Wife Quit Her Job scholarship. So I've got EDU backlinks from a lot of top universities all over the US. And we just give away a $500 scholarship every year for both companies.
That's so crazy. That was I remember that idea from a long time ago. Like, I don't know, 2012 or 13 or something insane like that.
Oh, has it been around that long? I didn't realize
been around a long time. Okay. Maybe not quite that long, but a long time, because those EDU links are like super powerful, even if it's a no-follow link. And so super smart. So you're doing the scholarship thing, and yeah, for the cost of $500, one, you're doing something cool, you're giving a scholarship, but two, you're getting those high quality backlinks. It's super interesting. I hadn't heard anybody doing that for a while, but I love that.
And another large part of it, and the problem with SEO is you do all these things, you don't know which one had the most effect. The other thing we did was we carefully link sculpted everything to our money pages. And I basically found out like the primary products that make the most money on Bumblebee Linens, and I put those in the menu. And all the other categories, I put all on a separate page with one link. So they're not easily accessible anymore. And then all like the scholarship page, the first responders page and all those coupon pages, we just link to those money pages. So we're just sculpting everything towards.
So you're getting that page rank coming to those scholarship pages, and then you're sending those to the money pages. Yeah. Love that, man. That's super
So
smart.
I don't know which one had the most effect, but
yeah, and that is the thing about SEO. It's a little harder to pinpoint. You can't like turn it on or off, right? You just got to like do the work and keep doing the right things, and then eventually you'll be rewarded with great rankings. But yeah, you do enough of the right things, and you can do stuff like 4x your traffic, which is amazing. So a lot of then, so you use ChatGPT for them to look at existing content and rewrite it and kind of pull things out and make it simpler?
No, actually, for the existing content part, that was all kind of manual.
That was all okay.
All new content is helped with ChatGPT 4.
Got it.
Mainly because rewriting stuff and knowing what to take out requires a little bit of human intervention.
It does. Yeah, that's pretty tricky.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other thoughts or predictions or insights on AI? I'm just curious. Other parts of your perspective there.
I mean, the only thing I fear is, I think this is going to be the year of spam, right? Think of how many people are just pumping out ebooks on Amazon right now. And as a result, I don't know if you've heard, but Amazon's been canceling a lot of people's Amazon KDP accounts if they're suspected of putting out low content books or, regurgitated books. But just the sheer number of websites, blog posts, ebooks, it's just been astronomical.
Yeah, and then how do you feel? Like so now you're browsing the web. Do you want to read something that a bot created, or do you want to read something that a human crafted and they thought through, and like you're reading an author's life, right, rather than something that's just cranked out by the machine? And it's interesting.
I think the Google search results have been crap for many years now, personally, because everyone's gamifying
because of kind of the spammy content that's out there.
It has nothing to do with ChatGPT, really. It's been around for like the last 5 years. I mean, if you Google something, it's all the same regurgitated stuff.
Yeah.
That's on the front page, and it's been a problem for a while. This is why I think Google's ripe for disruption. I mean, they're going to take a hit. So whatever this Project Magi thing they're working on, I'm pretty sure it's going to hurt their ad business.
It'll have to, right? And that's really what I heard about, like the reason Bard was delayed so much, which is their answer to Microsoft's version of chat, is because Google is 80% of their revenue is ad driven, right? Microsoft is like a 2% of their revenue is ad driven. So they're like, who cares? Let's go scorched earth on our AI offering through search, and let's see what it does. Where Google's like, they've got to be productive. Yeah, if they can't kill the golden goose there. And so we'll see. So Project Magi, we'll see what that looks like, if it's successful, if it's awesome, but it's going to have to hurt their ad business. So yeah, man, I'm very curious to watch that unfold.
And I'm curious how it's going to affect my ads too, right?
Yeah.
That we run. So
yeah, no doubt.
Here's the other way I think about it though. In the event, let's say they nerf all the content sites, like by just giving the answer. Well, guess what? I'm going to stop creating content.
Yes.
And that's going to lead to less that they can feed in to their tools. So I'm just curious how that's going to play out.
Yeah. And then we also are like, well, okay, what if you disincentivize people from writing content? So then you're not feeding the AI good content. So then what does that do to future content? And all kinds of interesting questions there, philosophical questions that it opens up. But hey, man, this has been super fun. I know we're kind of coming to the end of our time. I want to do a couple things. Let's talk a little bit about the book. So Family First Entrepreneur. I know you've got a family, beautiful kids. You're very intentional about spending time with your family and pouring into what's the most important part of your life, your family, not your business. But what is the book all about, and who did you write it for?
So the reason why I wrote the book, Brett, is because I feel like 99% of the entrepreneurship advice out there is either wrong or just given by a bunch of single dudes who have the time to work 80 hours a week.
You just got to crush it, man. Sacrifice. All about the business. Yeah.
But that's not true. So I run 2 7-figure businesses. I work 20 hours a week pretty much. And I have one VA for the blog that handles almost everything. I believe that if you structure your business correctly and all you want to do is make a couple $1 million a year, then you can do it in such a way that you can spend time with your family and spend time with your loved ones. Now, of course, if you want to start something that's like $100 million business or whatnot, or, $1 billion business, you're going to need to hire a team and all that stuff. But most of us, honestly, and I don't know the reason why you started your business, Brett, but for me, it was just all about freedom.
I like pain and
Yeah, you like pain.
trouble.
It's all about freedom, right? Most people don't go into this wanting to start like $1 billion company. And what happened to me was I just kind of lost track of that. So once Bumblebee Linens started getting some traction, I started trying to grow that thing, scaling like crazy. And I ended up driving my wife crazy because we'd set these goals and we'd hit them. And then I'd move the bar more the next year. And I'm cheap. I'm a frugal Asian dude. I don't spend that much money. We make way more than we spend. So what's the point of trying to grow the revenue every single year?
Yeah. Just growing for the sake of growing is all you're doing at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. So the book really is about how you can build a business that suits your lifestyle while still making a good amount of money, and how you balance the two.
I love it, man. I'm excited to read it. I bought a bunch of copies so I can give them to friends and stuff, and I want to support you in your journey. So proud of you. I don't know if I'll put it on my fridge. I'll leave that to your mom. but I'm excited to get some copies and share them with people that are close to me. So for those that are listening, are like, okay, hey, yeah, that sounds awesome. I want to check out the book. How can they find it? I'm assuming it's Amazon and all over the place.
Yeah, so you can go to thefamilyfirstentrepreneur.com, and I'm giving away a lot of pre-order bonuses. So you'll get a 3-day workshop on e-commerce. You'll get a 2-day workshop on how to make money with content, because I podcast, YouTube, and blog. And then I'm doing this Family First Challenge, where I'm actually going to go in there and work with people for 6 weeks on how to help them figure out their side hustle, or just kind of talk about imbalances and how it can help them out with their businesses. So those are all just free pre-order bonuses that you can get at the Family First Entrepreneur. You can order it anywhere. Amazon, probably the most common place.
Cool. So I'll link to all that in the show notes, so check it out there as well. If somebody's like, hey, I got to check out the podcast, got to learn more about what Steve Chou is up to, where can they connect with you? Because you're active on the socials as well, or is it mainly YouTube?
Probably YouTube. Do you consider YouTube social?
It is-ish. Yeah, I think it's still lumped into the social platforms, but it is quite different. Yeah.
I would say YouTube and Twitter.
YouTube and Twitter. Got it.
My primary places. Yeah.
Awesome. YouTube and Twitter, and then Seller Summit, an annual event. I think it's a must-attend event for sellers that are trying to grow their Amazon business and D2C and want to hang out with a tight-knit community that's really growing and smart. Probably based on when this is going to be released, it may be after Seller Summit. But where can people find out more about Seller Summit, if not this year, next year?
Yeah, it's just go to sellersummit.com. And really the main reason to go is to hang out with Brett. He usually has this entourage around him, which prevents the riffraff from getting to him. But we have a no entourage policy at Seller Summit.
No entourage policy. So yeah, I'll take the picture. I'll sign whatever you give me, But no, we'd love to hang out, and it's an awesome event. So Steve Chou, ladies and gentlemen, Steve, this has been a blast. You're a super smart guy. Love hanging out with you. Also love that you typically poke fun at our mutual friend, Andrew Udarian at E-Commerce Fuel, which yes. I love that you, in your almost every talk that you give, you sneak in a couple of jabs at Udarian, which really just warms my soul. I love that guy, but it's also fun to make fun of him. So
it's so easy to make fun of him when, he runs probably one of the most successful e-commerce forums, and he doesn't sell anything himself.
So, there's an example right there, another jab. Yeah, Udarian. But no, that dude's super smart. We're both investors in some of his projects, and he runs an awesome forum, and it does a good job of taking the flack that's given him. So that's awesome. So all right, man. Hey, really appreciate it. We'll have to do it again sometime. Looking forward to hanging out with you in Florida here in just a few weeks.
Sounds good.
Thank you. And as always, thanks for tuning in. We would love to hear from you. So what would you like to hear more of on the podcast? Any suggestions, ideas, guest ideas? We are open to that. And if you've not done it, hey, leave us a review, or if you think someone else will find this show helpful, please share it. And with that, until next time, thank you for listening.